everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From BA to Broadway, your premier showbiz education podcast. You know who it is. It's me. It's Mr. Brennan, Stefanik, your host, and I am bringing you those general programming reminders. Folks, every Monday, we are here with the main episodes, and every Friday, we're here with our mini-series In the Spotlight. And, would you look at that? Today is Friday. I am not here alone. I could never do this alone. I, of course, am here with our certified Broadway historian, Mr. Daniel J. Solly. Danny, what's going on?
You could never be alone.
You know, one would think.
I really, my gut was like, oh, sing You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel, but I don't know it.
Yeah, I don't.
So just imagine me singing that at you right now to prove that you'll never walk alone.
I'm not familiar with the show nor the song, but I imagine that it's
You don't know Carousel?
No.
The first integrated book scene in a musical in history?
Correct. Do you want to pivot?
The
Should we
bench scene?
talk about that this week?
No, I don't know it well enough.
Stay tuned for next week, folks.
Oh, no promises.
Oh my god.
If he hasn't killed me by then.
Wild. Danny, what are we talking about today?
Oh, today we are so ready and prepared and excited
Absolutely.
to talk about Little Women the musical.
So small.
So small.
Those women, teeny
so
tiny.
little, not little girls, not small women.
Nope.
Little Women.
Obviously based on the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Little Women was written by...
Based off of that one episode of Friends where Joey reads Little Women.
Yes, so
and has
true.
to put the book in the freezer. It is obviously based... Obviously. See, now that you point out that I do that, I catch it all the time. So Little Women is based off of the Louisa May Alcott 1968 novel of the same name, Little Women.
Whoa. What a coincidence.
I know. Do you think they realized?
No, I don't know.
As they're looking up at the marquee with the name in huge letters, they're like, huh, oh my God.
Wait a second.
It's the name of that book.
Sued for copyright infringement.
So Little Women is a musical with a book by Alan Nee, with lyrics by Mindy Dickstein, and music by Jason Howland. Fun fact. I met Mindy Dickstein last year.
Oh my God.
I was ASMing this show that my friend had written and whatever. And she is a writer, so she's friends with Mindy. They work together on something or other. And so she came to see the show, and I was like, that's the woman who wrote Astonishing.
Oh my God.
We all, your words live in infamy in the mind of every high school theater kid. How crazy. And then my friend was like, oh, do you want to meet her? And I was like, no, it's okay. I got weird. And then my friend went up to her and was like, my ASM is so excited to meet you. He can't believe you wrote Astonishing. I was like, shut up.
Oh my God.
Embarrassing, humiliating, but that's my brush with fame.
Love.
I don't care if George Clooney walks in the door, but
yeah.
Mindy Dickstein walks in. I'm having palpitations.
Absolutely.
So the novel is actually a semi-autobiographical novel of Louisa May Alcott's real life. And so it focuses on the March family, in which there are 4 sisters. From oldest to youngest, we have Meg, Jo, who is our protagonist, Beth, and Amy. And they live with their mother, which I've never known why, but they call her Marmee.
That's a great question.
I don't know if it's just a Massachusetts term of endearment for mother, or if her name is Marmee March.
I can't say that I am familiar with anyone calling their mothers Marmee. I don't know. Maybe they're just being quirky instead of mommy and saying that. But
in the cast list, it's Jo March, Marmee March. So maybe her name is just Marmee.
Maybe.
I've never questioned it until literally right now.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do they call her Marmee? But whatever.
As the resident Massachusetts native, I can say that it is not a regionalism.
Maybe you should start calling your mother Marmee. And she says.
The thing is, they would never pronounce the R, so maybe it is just mommy. Mommy.
No, I'm imagining a production of Little Women with hard Boston accent.
Mommy. Beth is dead. She's not looking good. You got to get her some Dunkin'.
Oh, no. Save it for your, contemporary retelling of the story.
Of course.
So they live with their mother, Marmee, in their home in Concord, Massachusetts, while their father is away serving as a Union Army chaplain during the Civil War. And so basically, like, Jo is the dreamer. She's a writer. She's imaginative. She, like, dreams of a life that is, like, much larger than their small Massachusetts life. And so we kind of watch the way that this family interacts with each other and the way that all the sisters kind of have their defining characteristics. Like, Meg is the romantic and wants to go meet her husband and live as a wife and a mother. Jo wants to live this huge life of storytelling and be the next great novelist. Beth is kind of this... She's like the quiet, timid sister who takes care of everybody. And then Amy is kind of the bratty younger sister that everyone hates.
Hates?
Come on.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever, like, hated Amy.
There has only been one woman to endear Amy to the world, and that was Florence Pugh.
Indeed.
And so along the way, we become besties with the rich boy next door, who is Theodore Laurie Lawrence. Him and Jo are like thick as thieves, best of friends. He's madly in love with Jo. He wants to marry her and settle down with her, and she rejects his advances and wants a life of adventure and doesn't want to be tied down to the traditions of marriage.
Yeah.
And so we watch as she kind of leaves home. She lives in the city and is trying to make it as a writer, living in this boarding house, while her family is living at home and living their lives. And Meg meets Mr. John Brooke, who is a tutor who she falls in love with. And they, you know, she kind of gets what she wants. She gets that marriage. We see Beth fall ill and die.
I can't believe you're laughing at that. You're sick. What is wrong with you?
I'm a crazy man.
Beth dies?
So, unfortunately, Beth does die of scarlet fever in Act 2.
Rough. That's pretty rough.
And then Amy, we see this like grand transformation of like Act 1 to Act 2 Amy, where she becomes a grown-up. And it is revealed at the end of the show that her and Laurie are together, which like rips Joe's apart because he was always that maybe for her. And then she ends up with Professor Bear, who is the German professor who lives in the boarding house that she's living in. And so it is, this is crazy, because I was like, it's almost like the ending of Gilmore Girls. But I think a more realistic comparison is to say Gilmore Girls probably based this ending off of Little Women.
That might
which
be
has
more
been around
accurate.
since the 1800s. And so like all of this life happens and they all have these like rich lives and turmoil and, you know, like they are getting with their mates and being disappointed and heartbroken. And at the end of the show, Jo starts to write her story. You know, like she comes through all this turmoil, and it's a song called The Fire Within Me where she starts to write. Basically, the beginning of the musical is her novel.
Understood.
And then she gets married at the end of the show. Or she ends up with the man at the end of the show, which is something she didn't think she would do. And that was a really chaotic description.
I mean,
of Little Women.
it's one of those ones where like they are just living their lives, so it's hard to just string along one specific plot, you know?
It is. It's actually a great music. I really enjoy this musical. It's got a great little score. The score is really fun. It is imaginative, and there's several of these like really fun sequences where, I mean, it's a small cast. It's a cast of like 10. And there are these like sequences where Jo is telling her story that she's writing, and she writes these like horror novels with these crazy convoluted plots and characters, and all of the other actors are like acting out the stories with her during these big musical numbers. So it's fun. It's really fun. The workshop production was presented at Duke University in February of 2001.
Wow.
What?
It just, I don't know. I feel like a workshop, I don't often see the workshops being specifically at universities.
I know. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that it was like a college production. Though. I think it was like, I don't know.
Renting the space.
Maybe.
Who's to say?
Maybe. And then, so they had 2 Duke workshops, one in 2001 and one in 2004. And then it opened on Broadway in 2005 at the August Wilson Theater, directed by Susan Schulman. And this cast featured the great. The living great Sutton Foster as Jo March.
We just lost the Pope. Man, we can't lose Sutton.
We can't lose Sutton. That would be so sad. Maureen McGovern played Marmee. We have Megan McGinnis as Beth. Danny Gerwin as Laurie, etc., etc., a bunch of other people. And the show didn't last very long. It ran from January to May of 2005.
Oof.
And then closed. And it didn't, I mean, the reviews weren't very kind to it. The reviews were very
Understood.
kind to Sutton Foster.
Okay.
Because Jo is the show.
Yeah.
The show, in every adaptation, Jo is the protagonist. In the musical, the show is on Jo's shoulders.
Yeah.
She has huge songs that she's got to sing. She's in every scene. And so I think Sutton really kind of kept the show afloat.
Heard.
And I also think that the show is a little small for a Broadway theater. And I think that's why it's kind of gone on to have this like really incredible community theater, high school theater life.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it has some really incredible female characters.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're very heavy in like schools. There's a lot of women. But I also think it's like a small show. Like knowing the show, I did the show in high school, so I know it pretty well. It's small, and I think it works well in a small space. And I think a lot of the reviews say that it kind of got swallowed up in like a huge Broadway theater.
Like, what did they expect?
I don't know.
It's not called Big Women.
Shut up. God damn it. I thought you were going to say something like mean about the production.
No, never.
Like, what do they expect with those tiny sets?
Never.
And it's gotten like, I know they just went out on a tour.
Mm-hmm.
It's had a couple tours. It's had a couple big productions, but it hasn't really had like there hasn't been like huge productions of it. We've gotten like, I feel like more so you hear concerts of Little Women, and then it's like obviously huge in the community theater and high school theater circuit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sutton got another Tony nom. I think that was the only Tony nom for the whole show. She was kind of just like the spearhead for that show. It's got some great songs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we all know Astonishing. I don't know if do you know Astonishing?
I've definitely heard it sung before, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
One of those. One of those. If you're a brunette, belty girly, you've done Astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
You know Astonishing. There's The Fire Within Me. There's like the Beth dying song, Some Things Are Meant to Be. There's the soprano song for Meg. So it's kind of got like everything you want. You got it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun show. I think it lives perfectly where it is.
Heard.
I think it works really well as like a small scale community show.
Yeah.
And I think that it's good that like it's like such an iconic piece of like classic literature.
Yeah.
And I think it's like good that we expose
I mean, yeah.
I was about to say these dumb little theater kids to
my God.
to like highbrow art.
Of course.
No, I think it's like good to like this is a great way to teach people the story of Little Women.
Of course.
And get people interested. And I mean, did a community theater production in high school, and like everyone was reading the book because we were like doing the musical version, and like what a great way for.
I think we were required to read it in high school at some point. I think we probably
were. You?
Well, maybe it was through. I took like American literature. Maybe it was in the American literature class. Mm-hmm. Either that or we read it freshman or sophomore year.
Because it wasn't in I never read it in school.
Gotcha.
I actually never finished the book.
Oh, you should. It's great.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I've seen every movie adaptation. I did the musical. I've seen the musical. I'm kind of like, I know this story so well.
That's
valid. I need to sit here and read the story? But I should read.
It's a good fall read.
I feel like I don't read classic.
I mean, that's fair. Listen, I can't be one to talk as I sit here and read my dragon books.
Like, I'm a huge reader. I love to read. I don't really read like the classic.
Yeah.
And I wish there's something so sexy about that. You know, if I was like, oh my God, I've read all of Emily Bronte, like that's so sexy.
Interesting.
But I can't say I have because I haven't.
Yeah. I mean, I only read the stuff in like school. Like I really only read classics in school. I remember.
Did you read school books? I feel like you would be someone who didn't read the books.
If it interested me, yes. For example, Catcher in the Rye when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Hated it. I'm curious to revisit it in the lens of the world that I live in now.
Yeah.
But I was like, I literally wrote my essay. The essay was, I remember it vividly. The subject was, should Catcher in the Rye be included in school curriculums?
And you said no.
And I said no, because it's boring and literally nothing happens. It's not about anything and it's a waste of time.
Isn't it about the loss of innocence?
I mean, yeah, probably, but my little ignorant...
You know what book I hated?
What?
Classic book I hated? The Great Gatsby.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I hated it. I should revisit it. Because I don't know, my 16-year-old self was like, and I owe it, you know, like I read all the books. I wasn't like a shirker. shirk my responsibilities.
A shirker. A classic high school shirker.
I hated The Great Gatsby so much.
Yeah.
This is terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. I liked it because of the period piece of it all.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen I've seen, I think, every Little Women adaptation.
I've seen the movies. I have not seen the musical.
Have you seen all the movies?
Are there more than 2?
Oh, yes.
Okay, then no, I've seen 2.
Let me find it. When the newest one came out, me and my mom went on like a little bit of a Little Women binge.
Love.
And we watched like all. Let me find it. There's like 5.
5?
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Little Women's been around for a long time.
How many movies do we need, though?
Not a lot.
No.
I mean, I think that I feel like I can confidently say that Greta Gerwig made the definitive Little Women movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I was obsessed with that movie.
It was phenomenal.
I thought it was so good.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh. Mwah, mwah.
Truly.
It was like her debut to the world.
It really was.
I mean, it wasn't. Midsommar was. But like, I didn't see Midsommar.
Oh, no. Why would I see that? That's too scary.
Not the W. Saoirse Ronan,
mm-hmm.
who is one of my faves. I love Saoirse Ronan. She was a wonderful Jo, and I don't think she got the acclaim that she deserved. So the first adaptation was a silent film in 1917, and then there was another silent film in 1918. And then we had the first sound adaptation of Little Women, starring Katharine Hepburn as Jo in 1933. And then we had the first color adaptation in 1949. And then we have a 1994 adaptation. That's the famous one with Winona Ryder and Claire Danes and Kristen Dunst and Christian Bale and Susan Sarandon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Stacked.
That's the other one that I've seen.
And then we have the 2019.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I forgot about Christian Bale in that movie.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I think that Little Women is the only movie that I have enjoyed Timothée Chalamet in.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not a Chalamet stan.
I'm not a big Timothy boy.
I'm not a Timothy stan.
Mm.
But I think he was a great Laurie.
He was phenomenal.
I think he was very well cast as Laurie.
Absolutely.
I think that's what he is.
I mean, yeah.
Like
it was like
philosophical,
a little cynical.
And like Lady Bird, he was kind of like the bad boy, and I'm like, this is not believable.
Yeah.
But when he's like the prissy rich boy, I was like, yeah.
Did you see Dune?
No.
Curious to see what you would think of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I have no interest in Dune.
And that's so valid.
I think because I'm not excited by Timothy and I'm not excited by Zendaya. So we
will not be saying that on this podcast from here on out. I'm setting that expectation.
What?
Shame on you.
That what? I'm not obsessed with her?
Yeah.
Why?
Because she's a queen.
I'm like, this movie that is like headed by 2 people that don't excite me. Why would I sit through a 3.5 hour movie about it?
And that's so valid.
But Florence Pugh is in the second one.
That is true.
But I know that she's only in like a second of it.
That is exactly right.
So that's why I won't be seeing Dune. I thought maybe I would this year because it was nominated for an Oscar, but I didn't. I don't know where we've been and where we've gone.
Timothy, new movie.
Little Women, the musical.
All the movies. Yes, the musical. That is what we were here for.
The musical, the movie, the musical. I wonder if we should get a movie musical of Little Women.
I would agree.
I would love that.
I think we should probably wait just a few years, but I do think, I feel like the 2019 one still feels really recent.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I do think a movie musical would be a good idea.
I think it's one that would actually work quite well.
Mm-hmm.
But it is tricky when we have a huge successful adaptation already.
Yeah. I think as long as it's very clear that it is its own thing,
Yeah, and something that has always makes me feel weird about the movie is that, so the character of Amy in Act 1 is played by a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Act 2, she's played by a young woman married to Laurie. But all of the other characters are played by adults.
Mm-hmm.
And that just is weird to me.
Heard.
And then in the movie, in the Greta Gerwig movie, I don't know if they did this in the 1994 movie. It's like Florence Pugh the whole time.
Yes.
And like clearly they like show her aging because they all age throughout the movie. But I think that is also something that just feels weird about it.
Yeah.
that always glitches me when I see the musical.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think, and maybe this is in the book too, and I don't know because I haven't finished the book. I started it. I think Greta Gerwig makes it very clear at the end of the movie. It's weird. It's a weird story because Joe spends the whole story being independent, against marriage. I don't want to get married. I want to be a writer. I want to be a novelist. Like, that's what she works the whole thing for. And then, like, in the musical, it's like all of a sudden she just like has a romantic happy ending. They sing a little love song and that's how the musical ends.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a little unsatisfying.
For sure.
And I think that is also potentially the reason why the musical doesn't fully work and has never really worked on like a large scale.
Understood.
And I think that Greta Gerwig kind of solved that issue with the way that she ended the movie.
Yeah.
Because she ended it with Joe being like in on it. And like, I mean, Greta Gerwig is kind of like Little Women through the feminist point of view.
Yeah.
Where like Joe is like, yeah, it's a business proposal and I'm playing the game and that's why I'm getting married. And it's like not for love. It's for like, you know, I'm compatible with this man and we could be together. So that's why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I do wonder if maybe like the book just needs an update and that would help it. I don't know.
Who's to say?
I think, you know, the book of the musical was written by a man. You know, this piece that is considered to be like a feminist literature piece that like the source material was written by like a trailblazing female novelist.
True.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to add?
Not particularly. I am glad that this exists as a musical. This is one of those ones where I'm like, it is another way to get the story out there. Also, in a world where books are being banned in schools at the speed of light, it is nice to know that there is also this form of storytelling where the story can be told. I do think it's important. It is an American classic. This is one of those ones where I'm like, it is an American classic and it's nice. You know, it's not too controversial and it doesn't age terribly. You know, it's one of those ones where I'm like, this is nice to revisit every once in a while, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think it's like, oh my God, this is such a great retelling of a classic. I
of
think,
course.
like, it's not a perfect musical. I do think that the characters are kind of tropey and not fully developed and what have you. But I do think it's a very charming musical. I think it's very, just like makes you kind of feel good. This was, I think I told this story where this was the production I was in where someone reported us to MTI.
Yeah.
And you know what? I stand by our decision.
Revolutionary.
Because they don't have Beth die.
Yeah.
Beth, we need to watch Beth die in her bed. I believe it. I believe it so fully. And in the Broadway production, she's in a wheelchair. Sutton Foster wheels her off, and then she dies off stage.
And you said no.
You have like one of the most like tragic deaths in this musical, and you're not gonna milk it for all it's worth? Come on!
No.
Come on! I feel like, you know, I don't know.
You were trailblazers.
We kind of were, I'm not gonna lie. We kind of ate it up. And, yeah, I mean, I think Friends really helped Little Women become mainstream.
I mean, yeah. Wild that that's what it takes, but...
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They're like, Beth dies. Oh.
Wow.
Forget Little Women. Just go watch that episode of Friends. It'll teach you everything you need to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Love it. Well, are we putting songs from this in our book?
Here's the thing. I don't know.
And why is that?
I mean, you know, I think the songs are really good and they're really good solo songs. And I think because of that, they've just become like such standards in the canon that if you are like a young female and you walk in, you're like, hi, I'm going to sing Astonishing. I think people are going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. It's a really exciting song. And if you can really nail the shit out of it, I don't think anyone's going to complain.
That's so valid.
So, you know, I say what I say all the time.
There you go.
Do what you want. I don't care. I don't know your life.
If it resonates with you so deeply that it comes through and it makes it a performance better than any other, hell yeah.
And play around with that vowel at the end. You know, Sutton Foster's got that iconic astonishing.
Yeah.
I know some girlies like to do the ing, some girls like to do the ang, you know, astonishing.
Yeah.
We'll see. Send it in.
Send it in. Send us your tapes.
I mean, have you seen that compilation on YouTube where it's like the Christopher Columbus?
Yeah.
Incredible. No
Yeah,
notes.
love it.
Well,
Well,
that's Little Women, folks.
that's all, folks.
And as we said to Beth at the end of Act 2, bye.
We haven't gotten there yet. Wait a second. Folks, if there's a certain show you want to hear us talk about, you can let us know by finding us over on the Patreon. That is patreon.com/BA to Broadway. All of our principal tier Patreon members get to choose the shows that we talk about every week. So head on over there and we'd love to hear from you. As always, you can find us on most social media platforms at BA2Broadway. You can find me at Brennan Stefanik.
You can find me at DSauls.
And until next week,
As we said to Beth in Act 2,
to Beth we say,
bye.
From BA to Broadway is created, produced, and edited by Brennan Stefanik, music by Dylan Kaufman, and cover art by Jordan Vongsithi.